Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Thursday Night Coffee. I have a confession to make before, well, two things. One, I apologize for the delay. I was delayed. Life happens, right? So, things happen. But I'm here now, and I hope some of you are still around. Um, here's my confession. I do not have coffee in this cup. I have eggnog. I was at the store earlier and I came across eggnog, and I haven't had eggnog in a long time. And I forgot how good it tastes, so I just got reminded. So here I am. And thank you, Baron Vaughn, for bearing with me. Exorcist Reviews. Check out his channel. It's a very good channel. Covers all things about The Exorcist. But aside from that, I just wanna um well, we're at the end of 2025. Christmas is next week. And obviously, we're not going to do Thursday Night Coffee next week because it's Christmas Day that week, right? Uh, so let's see what happens. I might not come back with the Thursday Night Coffee until after the New Year, because a lot of things go on, and you know, but never say never, right? So let's see what happens. I am feeling kind of meh in a way about 2025 in regards to horror movies. I think there have been years that it had been really good, and there have been other years that it hadn't been so good. This year was okay, as far as I'm concerned. This year is okay. By the way, I put the link. If any of you want to join me, Baron, I don't know if you're free to jump in and join me in all this, but I have a list of movies that I want to, these are all movies I reviewed here on Horror and Coffee throughout the year of 2025. Now, as in most years, 2025 is, most every year, just like this year's coming up, it's going to do the same thing. When horror movies kick in early in the year, like in January or something like that, okay, Baron Vaughn, I got it. You're at work. No worries. No worries. Thank you. But at least you're here. So that's what matters. Um, I bug out because every January, have you noticed during January or in February or around that time period, horror movies are there, and there are quite a few of them are released during that time. But they're kind of, they're not as great and wow as other horror movies might be. They tend to be more, okay, that was an interesting story, or okay, that was horrible. Like it's one of those things. Like I remember the first horror movie to come out. I forgot what year it was. I think it might have been. And the reason why I forgot the year is because it was that bad. Was the whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D movie that had to do with the cousin and all that. I don't know if you ever saw that, but that was that was horrible. Victor and I actually did a whole review on that one, and forget about it. It was bad. We crapped all over it. Mm. That's how it is. And yes, January is a dumping ground month because in January, for some reason, movies don't come out that great. However, I have to give it to 2025. There were a couple of movies that weren't so bad. I actually enjoyed them. Um, Night Swim was bad, not that great. It was all right. It was kind of like okay, In fact, yeah, was that the name of it? It had to do with a swimming pool, like a malevolent entity in the swimming pool of a family. So it was early. It was like the first horror movie of the year. But then, during around that time period, this movie came out, Presence. I think this was in January or at least early February. And this movie which was directed by Steven Soderbergh, was a very interesting ghost story. If you remember what it was about, it had to do with a spiritual presence in a house that people had just moved into, and we were throughout the whole movie. You see everything from the perspective of the ghost himself or herself. Like whenever the camera moved around, it was the ghost moving around, looking and going to people's rooms, watching them, seeing what they were doing. And I remember a couple, the kid, I think it was the daughter, she felt like a presence there. She felt the presence, right? That's the name of the movie, Presence. So I thought that was a pretty good horror movie in early 2025. I would actually watch it again. In fact, now that I think about it, I should check out the streaming systems to see if there's anything out there that is showing this movie, because I would watch it again. It had a creepy edge to it. It wasn't terrifying, but there was something deep and crazy. And then when you see the plot unravel the way it does, regarding the main character, one of the main characters, the girl in the family, and a friend of hers who died, and it unravels to this incredibly good story. Like I really liked it. I liked it. So I forgot how many coffee cups I get. I didn't have enough time to review and go through my videos to see how many coffee cups. Probably 3. I tend to give 3 usually, but this is a good one. In this house, there is a presence, right? So it's very suspenseful. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It made me feel almost empathetic even to the spiritual presence. It wasn't a dark presence. It was the literal ghost of a person who had passed and who was trying to reach out, even give warnings to the living in this house about imminent dangers. And you see that happen. It wasn't to, it was trying to reach out to them to help them. So there was it was a benign presence, not a malevolent one. So I thought that was a pretty cool story. So there it is, Presence. Go check it out if you haven't checked it out yet. It's a really good story. And so there are movies that do have potential in the beginning of the year when it comes to horror. As a matter of fact, I'm very interested, and this could suck, this could be bad. There is a movie coming out early January, the first horror movie of the year, called Primate. That's coming out in a few weeks. About a chimpanzee who, if you saw the trailer, kind of goes amok and nuts and wants to, first it was a friendly, trained chimpanzee that was loved by the family, a family pet, I guess you could call it, and then it decides to go Planet of the Apes on the people there, and I was like, okay, this has potential. The trailer gives it potential, but the way I'm kind of oh, hi honey, hi my oh my God, look at the picture. Look at the picture. Who's that? That's me. And who's that with me? That's her. That's my gorgeous. That is my queen right there. She is the best. And I love her. Guys, let me tell you, 2025 has been an incredible year because I really had the opportunity to foster and grow in a way I never grew before in my entire life. If I have to get a little personal here, this woman here, Regina, you saw her in the when we did the trailer reaction to Scream 7 that's coming out in February. We were, it's been about a year and a half now that we've been, almost a year and a half that we've been dating, and we've been And I've never I tell this to my friends. If I have to be, can I be personal here? Let me be a little personal. I tell this to my closest friends, those who have known me for since I was, in college and stuff. That going back that far, oh yeah, that's right. It is our anniversary today. It's a year and a half. On the 18th, it was on July 18th, 2024, a year and a half ago, where I met this incredible woman who has changed my life for the better. I can't put it into words. Where was I going with this? I was saying something. I was talking about something. Damn, where was I going with this? I said, I mentioned the trailer. I mentioned Scream 7. And there was something. Oh, God, I forgot. I was going somewhere with this and I forgot, because it's happy anniversary. Oh, I know. I know. Oh, you changed my life too. That's right. We changed each other's lives. It's been, you know, look, I'm 56, right? And my friends, this is what I remember telling my friends. Okay, that from them who remember me way back then, I tell them this. I remember how I used to talk about the kind of girl I've always wanted to be with, and how she would be this and that and that and this that. This woman here, that that's her. This is her. For God knows, I don't know the reason why it took half our lifetimes to find each other, even though we lived in the same proximity of each other all our lives. It wasn't until a year and a half ago that we finally met, and now here we are. And again, it's been an amazing new journey. It's definitely a new chapter in my life, a chapter I never thought was real. I never thought it was real. And, next to my kids, this is the best. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It was the right time. That's right. It was. It was the right time. What's that? Peaceful GH7Y. Has that always been there, or am I crazy? I don't know. Maybe I just noticed it for the first time. I always saw Peaceful G, but I never noticed the H7Y. It's cool. So anyway, back to the horror movie. Sorry about that. We got to try one of the horror movies that even Regina likes, and Regina, my queen. There's certain horror movies she admittingly can't bear to watch and stuff like that, which I totally respect and get to the T. I totally understand. But then there are other ones that she can get into, and we have seen stuff, right? Oh, that's right. She got a new. That's right. New phone, new account. Okay, gotcha. I understand, honey. But anyway, this is another movie that that is. Let me bring it out. How do I do it? Let me see. At the stage. Okay, there. Nope, that's not it. This was Presents. Wolfman. This one was good. We actually had a great time. My Peaceful G and I, going to see this movie. It came out again in the early, in the early portion of the year, and it stuck out as having a very strong, good story. What's it about? Well, about a family go to a cabin. Husband gets bit by a werewolf, and you see, she said it was excellent. And she's right. It was pretty good. Um, and he starts changing and transforming into a wolf. And the mother and the daughter have to come to terms with the fact that they're basically losing him to this. transformation, to this metamorphosis. And then what ends up happening is they end up actually some secrets come out regarding some familial issues regarding him and his father, and all of that unravels as he's transforming into a wolf, and you get to see how that unravels in this film. And that's the kind of plot twist in this story that really held us, if I remember correctly. It was really well made. And it's not often when a werewolf story comes out on screen these days and grabs you. This grabbed us. I have to admit it. It did. It had a good flair to it. So this and Presence were both like pretty cool and amazing. So kudos to Wolfman. That was one of the other good movies to come out, horror movies to come out in 2025. So there you have it. But there are other movies too. If I can say, another movie that came out later on in the year, and it wasn't even in the theater. It was actually on Apple TV Plus, and it was this one, The Gorge. The Gorge. What's The Gorge about? I did a review on this one. This one was fun. Hey, Frank, how are you? Good to see you, man. I hope all is well. We're going over the best horror movie, in my opinion, the best horror movies of 2025. I just went over Presence. I went over Wolfman, and I'm talking about The Gorge. Now, what's The Gorge about if you haven't seen it? I did a review on this. I gave it a good rating. It's about this gorge, which is kind of like a rift in the land somewhere in Russia, or between Russia and a Western nation in Europe, where on one side is an American and protecting that side from something that's inside the gorge, something menacing, something not good, right? Or some things, plural. There's some things down there. And the girl, she's Russian, and she's doing the same thing, but on the other side of the gorge. And it's just those two, and they stay there for like a whole year. And the idea is that they started like signaling to each other from across, and they end up eventually making contact, and a love connection happens. And when they, in the midst of their romantic connection over time, they realize that there's more to what's down there than meets the eye, and they find themselves even having to go down there to confront the realities of not only what's down there, but why they really are there to begin with, why they were sent there to begin with. Sigourney Weaver's in this movie too, which I thought was pretty cool, considering that she's no stranger to crazy creatures, like Alien and all that kind of stuff. So check out The Gorge. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's an excellent movie. I gave it a great rating. I had to review it. It was one of the good movies to come out in 2025 that actually wasn't in the theater. So go figure, right? There it is. So yeah, The Gorge, and I hope it's a good, so you got The Gorge, you got Presence, you got Wolfman. Those are three good movies that came out. I can't imagine. And by the way, feel free to chime in and let me know what you enjoyed watching this year in 2025, whether it was in the movies or whether it was on a streaming platform. Let me know. All right. In fact, if you want, I will post the link again if anyone is interested in. I just put it in the chat to actually join me and let me know what you think about what you thought was the best movie. Is it some of the same ones that I just mentioned so far? I said The Presence, Wolfman, and The Gorge. Let's talk about another one. This one came out not too long ago, actually like a month ago. Shelby Oaks, which was directed by Chris Stuckman. Oh, Chris Stuckman is fellow YouTuber, a very successful YouTuber, but he's also now a very successful horror movie director. I liked this story. It was good. Some people didn't like it. It had mixed reviews for certain people. But for me, I actually enjoyed watching this movie. What's it about? It's about this paranormal team that disappear from a house or abandoned insane asylum and stuff like that. They were on it. They were a YouTube channel people, and the sister, a few years later, is still trying to crack and find out what happened to her sister. Trying to find out, and then unfortunately, if you see the preview, a man shows up at her door, blows his brains out in front of her, but not without clues that he was holding in his hand that eventually leads her on a quest to find her sister and bring her back home. The movie starts crazy, it ends crazy. I'm not going to tell you how it happened, how it ends, but let me tell you, it's one of those, it's definitely a horror movie. Definitely a horror movie. And Frank is telling me the Toxic Avenger remake, not in theaters, but Welcome to Derry. Yeah, I want to talk about Welcome to Derry for a little bit, too. I'll be real. Oh, I forgot. Weapons and Sinners. Funny how you brought that up. It's funny. I don't have Weapons or Sinners as a poster to show here right now because I couldn't find it to put up. But rest assured, those are the other two best, I think, horror movies of 2025, along with Shelby Oaks. I thought Shelby Oaks was good. The executive producer was Mike Flanagan. What is Mike Flanagan up to right now? You know what he's up to. He's directing the new Exorcist movie and we talked about this last week, Scarlett Johansson, which I just found out her role in the movie is not the mother or anything. She's a detective, a police detective, cracking the case as to whatever's going to happen and stuff like that. I can't help but wonder if she's in any way related to the police detective from the original film, maybe a granddaughter or a niece or something that that followed in her relative's footsteps and now finds herself in a similar situation as her uncle or grandfather or whoever the heck was the detective, that cool, funny detective in the original film. So you never know, right? Like I hope they make a connection like that. That would be cool. But yeah. I would definitely say that. So, there you go. So you had Shelby Oaks, very paranormal activity-ish kind of film that ends like, oh my God, with an OMG kind of like factor to the end of it, which is crazy. But here's another movie that I was very looking forward to seeing this year. 28 years later. The third installment to the 28 Days Later franchise. Remember 28 Days Later when that came out back in the early 2000s and how it was insane? The virus that these chimpanzees had that they bit the person and then the person changed and went rabid and bit it and then it spread all over the world, or at least all over Europe, because we never see what happens anywhere else but in that general area around London, England and the UK and all that. That most of all of the films, all three of the films, actually there were four. Wait, there was 28 Days Later, 28 Months Later. Yeah, no. I think I got this. Oh no, I think there's a 28 Weeks Later. Am I right? Shoot, I think there is. But I've seen them all. So I'm mixing them all up now. 28 years later, there you go. Just put some Vicks on the wound. Right? Yeah, the Vicks would work, right? If they would have done that, we wouldn't have a 28 years later, much less a 28 days later. There would be no movie. There should be a horror movie called Vicks. Right? Like, imagine if Vicks gets mutated and it does things to you. You rub it on and then it does things. Anyway, I'm getting too creative here. I need to chill. 28 years later, um, it's a colony of people living on like a isolated island almost kind of place, but they send out a couple of people as some sort of rite of passage to go and check out the mainland, see what's going on there, and they go. A couple of guys go out there. I think it's the father and the son, and the son goes first, and then the father goes looks for him. They come across a whole crazy situation with the rabbit and the killer. You know, the crazy rabbit people, and not just them, but people, normal people, but they're living like they're, pretty much out of their minds anyway, right? And what's cool about it is that there's already another part to this coming out next month called The Bone Temple. Yeah, they must have made both, and they just separated it and said, okay, let's play this first and then put The Bone Temple. There's a character in this movie that's in this one too, in The Bone Temple, and I guess and he was a very interesting character. I was very intrigued by him, so it would be pretty cool to see what happens to him in this new one, in The Bone Temple. Kind of like we get a chance to see from his perspective what's been happening in the mainland. Hey, Triborough, how are you, brother? Good to see you. Kind of going over all the horror movies of, well, not all of them, but most, the what I think are the big ones. Have you seen Silent Night, Deadly Night remake yet? No, I want to. I know that came out and it's been crazy. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and all the good stuff. Yes, absolutely. To all of them. And may it be a blessed time for everyone. Okay, in this crazy world. And it's a crazy world, as we all know. Okay? In spite of the craziness, in spite of the chaos, may everybody be at peace and be at peace this holiday season. So, yeah, 28 years later, excellent movie, one of the best movies to come out in 2025. And then there was this one. Okay? And what's funny about this one? Two things. One, Al Pacino's in it. He plays a priest. That's one. Two, I'm kind of blown away how this kind of movie was very low key this year as opposed to other years. In other years, you had like 4 or 5 of them come out, almost, like spread out throughout the year, like mayonnaise on bread. It was like always, and it was always the same thing. It was always the same pattern. This one was a little unique. This one had some differences to it that I appreciated, and it was quite orthodox in its storyline, because me as a Catholic, understood certain things about what was going on in this story that maybe other people may not have understood, or maybe just learned for the first time. And I thought that was great. It was based on a case that happened in the early 1900s. Like, if I'm correct, 1912 or something like, very early on, near the turn of the last century. So it's kind of like, it happened around that time, man. But, one of the things that I had beef with regarding the trailer to it was that it was saying that this is the story that inspired The Exorcist. No, it didn't. It did not inspire The Exorcist. This case inspired, if anything, this movie. Exorcist had nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with it. So, so when you see that trailer and it says that, know that they're full of it. They're just trying to get more butts in the seat so that they get more money in the pocket. That's really all it is. It's Hollywood. It's Hollywood enough. You got Al Pacino there doing God, and you got Dan Stevens playing the other priest. I've also noticed another thing about these last several movies regarding this particular topic. There's always the priest that's very well seasoned. He's a seasoned exorcist. He knows what he's doing. He's got his shit together. He wants to, fight the fight, and he kicks ass. And the other priest is that I don't believe in anything. I think it's a mental condition, And then throughout the movie, he realized, okay, maybe it's not a mental condition. That's how it feels, man. like and that happens a lot in these movies. It makes me laugh. But I'll be real. Even in the original classic from 1973, you had that Father Karras was very skeptical of the reality of the spiritual realities that was happening. Until it blew up in his face towards the end. But that's another thing. Triborough Gigolo says The Ritual was okay. I feel like every year they bring out one exorcism film with an A-list actor playing a priest. I know, right? Because the year before it was The Pope's Exorcist with what's his face? I can't think of his name right now. You know who I'm talking about? The Gladiator dude. Him. And now this year it's Al Pacino. Maybe next year will be Robert De Niro. Actually, didn't no, he didn't yet. Robert De Niro should do one, so he could be like, let me tell you something, all right? I don't know. I can't imitate him for shit. But anyway, you get my point. Russell Crowe, that's it. Yes, Russell Crowe. Thank you, Frankie. Thank you. and Triborough, right? They both tell you it's Russell Crowe. Terrible names. And remaking The Exorcist is a mental condition. Probably, yeah. Well, like I said, it's kind of cool that this movie that supposedly takes place in the same universe as the original 1973 film is going to have Scarlett Johansson playing a detective, on the case. So I kind of like that when it's a cop thing, Anyway, I like it when the police are involved because it makes them, it becomes more investigative and cool like that. But anyway, yeah, The Ritual I enjoyed. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was unique, even though it still had some tropes there that we're all tired of, regarding that kind of thing. It still stood out as a good one. So kudos to The Ritual, and thank you Al Pacino and Dan Stevens for a great job. Great, well done. Acting was great. Cinematography was great. One of the good movies to come out of 2025. So, and now I want to talk about, and I don't have the poster for this, but let's talk about Sinners. Sinners, I think, is up for a couple of Academy Awards. I think there's some nominations I heard in the grapevine. Please confirm with me on the chat, because I was very, very impressed with Sinners. It has tell me the names, guys. Give me the names. I gotta write them. I gotta write down the names of the actors in front of me before I do any of this. But it takes place in the early in the 30s or in the 20s or something like that. I think it's the 30s. And the two brothers that are start this whole thing, and one of them is a guitar player. Michael B. Jordan. Thank you. Yes, Michael B. Jordan, right? And Delroy Lindo. I guess that's another name. Best film director and best lead actor. Look at that. Best film director and best lead actor. Michael B. Jordan is nominated, I think, for an Oscar for this. It was a good movie. Sinners was a good movie. It was a vampire film. It was vampires. It was about vampires in the early 30s. And one of the things that grabbed me about this movie was the musicality of it. The whole history of the music. Okay, Tribo's giving me all the, I don't know who that is. It's bad. I'm telling you, I'm terrible. I can't, it's hard for me to match faces with names. Always been a thing with me. But having said that, this movie had this thing about music that I could relate to as a musician, because there was a scene when everybody was dancing in the barn, because it was like everybody was dancing and serving alcohol. And remember, this was the time of prohibition. There was no, all alcohol was illegal at the time. And they were hiding, doing all these people were doing their dancing and everything. And you started seeing different time periods of music history from that time period all the way to rock and rap and hip hop and other kinds of genres throughout, the following 100 years, really, and I just loved how they showed that in a visual way. It was very stimulating, and it grabbed me, and I understood exactly what they were doing, because a lot of music, modern music, has its roots in the blues, which was basically what they were playing during that time period. Rhythm and blues and gospel kind of like had a love affair and created a hybrid called rock and roll. And you see that reveal itself in this movie while the vampires are outside ready to go at everybody, wanting to like share in their immortality with them, and the characters that were played in Sinners was amazing. Michael B. Jordan knocked it out of the park. He was great. He was amazing. And Triborough talks about it. I like the lore and backstory of Sinners, but it was not the best vampire. I'm not saying it's the best vampire film of all time. I would agree. I don't think it would be. For me, I feel like, there are better ones out there, but I think that at least for 2025, it was a good movie, one of the top, hands down, right? That's how I feel about that. I'm having eggnog, not coffee, eggnog. And it tastes good. So, yeah, kudos to Sinners, one of the best horror films to come out in 2025, and it's up for a Oscar. Now, I'm going to put up another one. I have one more poster, and we're going to talk a little bit about this one. Final Destination Bloodlines. Okay. Final Destination came out, I think the first one came out in 2000. And what I love about this movie is that it does the same thing. And sometimes it's okay when you do the same thing, But what intrigued me about this one is that this made a direct connect in a familial sense to the original film, without really getting into the original film or the first few films at all. Don't really do it, but it shows how something that happened long before that, I think in the 1950s, you see it in the beginning, how back in the 50s, something happened that caused a kind of like a chain reaction that led to the events of the first film and onward. And then you see it unfold again in this film, in Bloodlines, which is why it's called Bloodlines. It's familial. It has to do with, somebody's grandson or like the ancestor, not ancestors, but from people that lived in the 50s and their children and their children's children, and how it eventually becomes this issue right here. And the deaths are crazy in this. They're crazy in all of them. They're crazy in all of them. But in here, holy God. Did you see the trailer at least? If you saw the trailer of this, at least you know. At least you know, right? It's a very, Final Destination was it was fun. This is one of these movies you can't take too seriously, really. You can't take the whole franchise seriously at all, actually. It's one of these, oh God, careful, watch where you put that, because you're going to end up dying from it. It was funny because the whole group of us, after we saw the movie, my queen and I saw it with her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend and a few other people. And we came out of there laughing, bugging out, like, oh, hey, careful, don't walk too fast. You might step on something and die, because that's what happens in these Final Destination movies. They freaking just, everybody, you don't know what's going to happen next and, how they're going to die. And then when you find out, it's like, damn, that could have been avoided, right? Charborough says, I like how they tied together the past and the present, mentioning past characters, bringing back Tony Todd in for a cameo. God rest Tony Todd. He died not too long after this film came out, or right before it came out. He was old, he was in the first film, right? He was a mortician in the first film, and he just played all these other different ones, you know. But it was really great. It was really great, and I really enjoyed Final Destination Bloodlines, and I hope you guys do too. I hope you guys did. Charborough looks like he did. I don't know who else here saw it. Frankie, I don't know if you saw it. If you've ever watched the other Final Destination movies, I'm sure you have. I don't know if you saw this one yet. I would recommend it. I gave it a good rating, and that's it for Final Destination Bloodlines, right? So I'm gonna get rid of that one. Okay, now I'm gonna be real, right? I'm gonna try to see if I could find this image right now in my queue, because I thought I had it. I think that this might be it. No, that's a shot from, I think, Shelby Oaks. So my bad. I'm trying to find, because I know I have it, the picture of Weapons. Weapons is, in my opinion, the best movie to come out. Oh, Frank says he's not really a fan of the series. Okay, that's cool. But Tribro thinks he thinks it was one of the best horror films of the year, so that's cool. Hold on, let me try to find the picture of Weapons. Thought I had it. Let me see. No, I guess not. Is this it? I don't know. Let me know if this is it, guys. Did this come out this year? Thread? Wait, did this ever even come out? How come I don't remember this one? Anyway, forget it. I can't find it. Yeah. So Weapons was another excellent story. Very excited. It was a very exciting tale. I enjoyed it very much. And hold on. Yeah, I guess I don't. Oh, here it is. Okay, I think I found it. Let me see if I can get it up. I just want the picture up. Let me see. Got it. Oh, no. Sorry, guys. Hold up. I got to do it another way. Share screen. There we go. There we go. Okay. Weapons. This was arguably, definitely, in my opinion, the best horror movie to come out. You know? Have a good night. Merry Christmas, Frank. You and your family, you and Marty and the kids. I hope you guys enjoy your Christmas. I'm going to try to catch that Silent Night, Deadly Night remake. What was Weapons about? It was about a group of children at 2:17 in the morning that decided to just run out of their house for no damn reason, and they all disappeared. And they were gone for quite a while. And they all came from the same classroom. The teacher, who happened to be the same woman who played the mom in Wolfman earlier in the year, it's the same actress. she's parents are blaming her and questioning her motives, but she's just as messed up about why they're missing too, and so she tries to find out what's going on. There's a couple of good actors in this movie. The guy who played Thanos, and he's been in so many movies. He's in it, and you see eventually how what this is about. These kids and you know it's disturbing to say the least, and at the same time intriguing. Um, the story was solid. It was good, and I really enjoyed it. This was a very good story. Weapons was really good. They didn't give away the story in the trailers. They didn't, which is good. I like it when a trailer does not give anything away. It keeps you wondering and guessing, and then when you see the movie, you'll be like, "Aha! Now I understand." And then that was good. So yeah, go see Weapons as another great horror movie to come out in 2025. Another one, and I don't have the thing for this one, is a movie that involved a dog called Good Boy. It came out a couple of months ago. And remember how earlier I was talking about Presence and how it's a ghost story that had to do with we were seeing it from the perspective of the ghost. Well, in Good Boy, it's from the perspective of the dog. And the dog didn't even what I liked about this movie was that there was a presence in the house with the dog and his master, and the dog was sensing it and following it and scared and like. But what was weird was that he wasn't any of those things in real life because he's a dog. He doesn't know how to act. He's just being a dog. And they showed how at the end of the movie, the director showed how they were able to shoot it and make it all about the dog. Like, like we never saw his master's face until towards the end of the movie. And you never saw his face. You only saw the rest of his body, like the back of him, his feet, his legs, his hands, whatever. But because the director wanted us to focus on the dog. This was about the dog, okay? And it was a great story. I liked how that came together. It was a low-budget film. I think it's on Shudder now, so check it out there. Great story. Some honorable mentions is I saw LLC, Hell House. I forgot the name of it. It's the next movie in the series. And The Conjuring. Last Rites. I didn't put this as what I don't think it was one of the best horror movies of this year. The Conjuring Last Rites. I thought that it was all right. They wanted to just end it, so they did. It's the last movie you're gonna see these two in it. But there's a lot of talk about them continuing on with other things with it. So these basically are the horror movies of 2025. I'm very, and there were many more, obviously. Of course there were. And you had Welcome to Derry, which I finished watching the first season. Holy God. I'm going to do a whole thing on that. I need people to be here talking to me, with me about it. Okay? Because we got to talk about that. Not to mention Stranger Things. That's another big thing that's been out. I mean, the last final season of Stranger Things came out around Thanksgiving, and now it's they're about to release next week the second part, third part ending on New Year's Eve. So there's a lot going on regarding all these great tales that we're all so familiar with. But it's a Thursday night, and I'm finishing up my eggnog, and I'm gonna finish up here for the night. I like to thank everyone who showed up. Thank you for Triborough for coming. Thank you, Frank, for coming. Thank you to my queen for being here as well. You guys have been very supportive of the channel. I'm trying to continue to do this Thursday night coffee thing, even if it's for a little while. Just kind of get a sense of where everybody's at. I like to connect with you guys and let you know that I'm still here and that horror and coffee is still a thing. A lot of things going on in my life right now. Good things. Good things. Some things are challenging, but some things are really good. And I'm looking forward to the challenges that are coming up for the new year. 2026. Let's find out what movies are coming out in 2026 that everybody wants to watch. Why don't we make that the next topic here on Thursday Night Coffee? So I'm going to do my research, bring it here, and show you guys what's coming. Okay? For 2026. But in the meantime, I'm going to wish everyone here a very blessed and Merry Christmas. A Merry, Merry Christmas to my Jewish peeps out there. Happy Hanukkah season, in spite of the chaos that happened a few days ago. Nothing can take away the truths that you guys hold in your belief. Nothing and no one will ever be able to do that. And I stand with you with that. Okay. God bless you guys all. Have a good night. Good Boy was okay. It wasn't enough for me. That's fine. No, it wasn't scary enough, but I like the idea of the dog being the one kind of going through it all, I thought that was a unique perspective. But until next time, guys, thank you for Tribal for joining me with this and the rest of you guys. Until next time, have a Merry Christmas. Have a blessed, Happy New Year. And we'll talk again next time we talk. Let's talk about the movies that are coming out in 2026. Huh? Let's see what comes of it. Till then, have a good night, guys. Take care.